Welcome everyone to the Hoops Post Up. Today we are talking about the NBA season of 1920. Should the season count?
Unfortunately, talking about it as if it's in the past because it looks like there is no immediate future. Nothing's been declared. Obviously, things change day to day at this point. But the further the days go along, it doesn't look like playoffs are going to happen. At least if they do, it's definitely going to be late. It might be short. It might not happen at all. I mean, there's serious consideration to the fact that the season just might end and then just regroup and wait until next year. That might be the smartest decision, honestly, at this point. It might be best for everyone. Of course, sad for NBA fans, but it just could be all over.
Well, I thought it was interesting. The other day I was reading the article and they were talking about how the, owners and the commissioner and everybody got together and they were gathering stats and not stats, but information about how their players are doing back home and who's training and who's not. Some players don't even have a hoop back home. Like, who doesn't have a hoop if you're a
I was like, we even have
professional
a hoop.
basketball player? So, anyway, so they were talking about the trainers. The trainers were showing concern. And if you bring back the season and they are bringing back the season late, they were talking about how they were going to have a months long of training and then a couple of weeks of scrimmages, kind of like that preseason before they had the finals. I think that's a little crazy if you ask me.
Full preseason at the end of the season before the playoffs. That's a little crazy because even if you did that, right? Even if you say, okay, we'll just give them 2 weeks. I mean, we're already what, almost the end of April, and then a couple of weeks of preseason, you want to call it, and then you're jumping to the playoffs. I don't see anybody being okay with that, really, except for maybe the owners if it helps them make money. It just seems a little off. I don't see that happening. You think that's going to happen? I don't think
I
so.
just think if they're going to bring it back and we're going to finish out this season, I think a couple of weeks is probably what they would do. Kind of like a soft start and then going in. But they were talking about protecting the players and treatments that normally go on throughout the season to maintain, prevent injury. And then they were also talking about how, playoff playing is completely different than regular season games.
Yeah,
So,
you hear that all the time during the season. You'll say, "Oh, it's like playoff intensity, playoff level." It's different. It's like a whole different season,
crazy
basically.
because they're making millions of dollars.
Yeah. Well, they're playing for something. I mean, it's mainly pride, and of course they want the ring. But I mean, it's just different, right? And so you can't just all of a sudden go from 0 to 100, like you said. Some of these guys aren't, right? You'd think they would be in shape and working out and training, but some of them, for whatever reason, they're not. And it's not just always motivation. Sometimes it's, even though you think, well, they make plenty of money, these guys are 23, 24,
And
younger, and they're bachelors. They live in their apartments,
we
right?
talked about that location, location, location.
Yeah, they
Some
don't
may
all have
be in an
mansions.
apartment. Some people, may live in high rise where they don't have this huge, large facilities and these Olympic athletic centers like the Steph Currys of the world, right?
Yeah, not everyone wants a mansion or has that. Like I said, some of them are still living with their moms, and that's okay. You're 20 years old, maybe you should be. But the thing is, and they can't just go down to the park and play a pickup game anymore. Can't go to the gym, right? Not going. The gyms are closed, like the parks are closed, so you can't blame them. But here's the thing: the playoffs aren't just going to start, right? It's not just going to happen, and so there's a chance there are just no playoffs. They're just going to call it a season, and that's it because we don't know that this thing is going to stop anytime soon, right?
Something that they talked about was actually continuing, with this season and maybe, next season, the 2021 season, and pushing that back until like, December to November to start that season, right?
Hmm.
Preseason, training, etc. Well, I don't see how that'll ever catch up.
Well, then you're always behind. So at this point, I'm
unless they
assuming.
shorten unless they
I mean, you could do a
shorten
shortened
the
season.
following season, right?
Happened in
So they
'99.
continue. Yes, it sure
You remember
did.
that year?
Yeah, Phil Jackson seemed to say
Mm-hmm.
something about that.
Oh yeah, it sure
Mm-mm-mm.
did. '99.
That's
Yeah.
right. Whatever, Phil. Okay, so that could happen. So they could shorten the amount of games played for the season of the 2021 NBA season to kind of wrap it up and get back on track, get back on a regular schedule. So that's a possibility.
All right. So here's the thing, though. Let's assume, right? Because I think at this point it's very realistic to assume that this season, 1920, it's not going to end. It's not going to have. There's not going to be a finals, a playoffs, nothing. We might not have a champion, right? We might not have that whole playoff run. So then the question now is, should the season count? In other words, uh, do you have a playoff? Do you even go for a shortened playoff? Do you even bother? Because all of those hurdles you have to clear, right? Obviously, just getting clearance to play in the first place, and then the player's going to be in shape, or the player's going to be, in the right frame of mind. Are they going to have equal access? Are they going to claim that it's fair if you have a shortened playoff, right? What if you have only 4 teams from each conference? What if you have a 5 game, series? Then is it really going to be the same? So
Well, they'll
would
have
it
to
be, as
put
Phil
an
Jackson say, would there be an asterisk, or would you declare whoever wins wins? What do you think about that? First of all, should they try to have a playoff, or just should they just scrap it?
I think if they're going to try to have this playoff and try to have these guys come back in and be ready to play for that championship, I think it's going to have to be without anyone in the stands, right? No one's going to be at the stadium. It's all going to be confined to those players. And then is it really worth it? To me, they're going to put themselves in a position to become vulnerable because the disease and the coronavirus is still happening. It's still not anywhere near where we are at the end of
No.
this whole
Keep
thing.
staying at home, by the way. A little PSA here. Just don't, it's not over. All right? Keep staying at home.
Right. And so then what I think of is how those players are going to go back home to their families on their home games or whatever, even though it may not be very many, they're still putting themselves and their families' lives in danger. And I just don't think it's worth that. I don't think that this situation that we're in is worth taking a risk by finishing out the NBA season. I really don't. I think we should just, it is what it is. We embrace and learn from this. We try to better our healthcare system for the future. Best practices amongst ourselves as we normally would live our lives. And we go forward. And this season didn't finish.
Just move on. All right. Now, what if, let's say best case scenario, what if the curve starts going down next couple of weeks, mid-May, things start resuming, and even if it's without people in the stands or whatever they do, what if there are playoffs but they're shortened, or it's one of those scenarios where, they have to do a preseason sort of thing just to get. Would you consider that equitable? Would you see it's the same, or would there be a big asterisk next to it?
I
I mean,
don't,
because realistically,
if you're not playing to the same control, the same standard as previous seasons, then it's different. It's not, it's never going to be considered the same.
and
Now,
one thing to consider, you talked about empty stadiums. Well, then there goes home court advantage. You fight all year for home court advantage. If there is no home court advantage, there's no fans. Then, right? Doesn't that change
it's
things?
neutral.
It's neutral. It's not fair to those teams who are at the top.
It's neutral. So it does make every situation a little bit different. And is it going to be something that they get up for? When you are in the stands and you're playing for your home team, you've got their backing, behind cheering you on, and it's not going to be the same. I don't know how they're going to get up to that level to play that exciting game as they would.
Yeah, Toronto's going to have to put everybody in the Jurassic Park area, right? They're going to be double the size, we the North. But that's the thing. You're right. It would not be the same. And I don't think it's going to be the same. So the question is, should it count? Now, what about the standings? Let's talk about real quickly. But let's look. All right. So here are the people who'd be least happy about the season ending. The Lakers, this was their window, right? LeBron is still there. Anthony Davis, they got it going on. All these veterans, older players, they're the number one seed, and that might be out the window. So, of course, I don't think you have any sympathy for Lakers fans, right?
No.
No. Clippers, too. Well, think about it. If the Western Finals was Clippers Lakers, it wouldn't really be a home court advantage, anyways, because
No,
they're playing in the
no.
same stadium.
Exactly.
All right.
That's the Western Conference.
There's your Western Conference. So, would the Lakers have a claim to say, yeah, we would have been the champions?
I think they would say that. And for me, I would think they would have been the champions as well.
All right.
Hmm.
Now looking at the East here, now Milwaukee did have the best record.
It was really tight between Toronto and Milwaukee.
Tight, yeah, Toronto. I mean, really, did they have a shot without? Well, I'm not going to say his name, but
No, they did have a shot. Absolutely, they
no, I
had a
think they could have won
shot.
it all.
Yes, absolutely. I really think they had a shot.
Okay, so you can see there, I had a couple of teams already clinching the playoffs. Milwaukee fans probably more disappointed than Lakers fans. They don't have a bunch of championships already in their
Oh,
past,
my George Hill.
and this was no, nobody good about George Hill. I'm just kidding. Um, but that's the thing. Giannis, he's still young, right? They obviously have a window there, right? They're not. It's not the same as the Lakers, where we're an older team.
Right.
But the Bucks, I mean, this was going to be possibly their season, right?
Hmm.
So do they have the right to be upset and say, no, we want the playoffs. Let's bring it on, right? I don't care if it's a 2 game series, whatever. Let's just play one game and play for it, right?
Okay, so do we let the players decide whether the season goes forward and they play for the championship? Do we go
Probably
with
not.
the health officials who say stay home, be safe, and let's not put our doctors and nurses at any other, s-
Well,
higher risks
well, you
for.
always got to think rationally. All right. But from an NBA fan perspective, right, we want to see the games. We want to know who won, right? Who was the champ in 1920? Could you have a season where is it no champion? I mean, can you do that?
But it's history, and history changes, and it could be a very unique situation and something to talk to your grandkids about in the future.
Yeah, I don't think that Giannis wants to talk to his grandkids about how he could have won the championship but didn't because they didn't have a finals. He don't want to talk about that. All right. Well,
As an NBA fan, do I want the season to finish out? Yes. Do I want there to be a championship game played sometime this year? Yes. If it means that we, cut off like 10 or 20 games from the next season, yes.
all right. So you go for that, right? Dig into
Yeah.
next season and we'll finish it. We want a playoff, right? We want playoffs. Okay, if there is a short playoff, however they want to do it, it would still count, or are you putting asterisks next to it?
It'll still count.
Still counts. No asterisk. You're not a fan of the asterisk.
No.
Okay. I'm not either, honestly. Like, you won, you won. Get
It
over it, Phil
is.
Jackson.
It is what it is.
Same thing, 94 with baseball, a shortened season. Obviously,
Mm.
different because that year it was shortened. The second half didn't actually play out. We all know the Expos would have won the World Series. But yeah, look, if they have a playoff or finals of
Yeah.
any sort, the winner is the winner.
Yes.
Even
Abs-
if the Memphis Grizzlies come from the 8th seed and they win a short 3 game series somehow,
yes.
okay,
Yes.
well, that would be great,
The
wouldn't it?
winner's the winner. The
Winner's
winner's
the
a
winner.
championship. So let's see it happen. Even if it takes us into October to play those finals. I'm
I
okay
hope
with
so.
that.
That would be pretty good.
I'm okay with that. I'd rather see something than nothing.
I'm definitely on board with that. Something would be good.
Mhm.
Well, let's hope. We don't know what's going to happen yet. Of course, we're just speculating here, but if and when there are playoffs, we're ready for it. We'll break it down for you, and it does count. Whoever wins, wins. That's it. No asterisk for me.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to hear from you.
That's right. And give us a shout. Follow us on social media. Subscribe here. All those things. Give us a comment. What do you think? Should the season count? Do they have to have a playoff? Should they just shut it down and save it for next year? Give us your thoughts.
All right. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Peace and love. Peace. Be safe.